am enjoying it. I am passionate about it, and it's a blessing to be able to share that with other people.
Tehila, how did you find carnivore?
Thank you for the privilege of being here, first of all. The way I found Carnivore was basically I went to a conference and my husband pointed out this guy and he said, wow, that guy's lost so much weight. I didn't know him. And so I've always, well, I've had five beautiful children. So I've been kind of overweight over the years, more than I would have liked to be. And so I've tried like so many diets, you know. So whenever I hear someone's lost weight, I like make a beeline for them and ask them, how did you do that? And usually I'll end up trying what they did. And it doesn't last very long because here's the thing. When I do a diet or try to change my lifestyle for the purpose of losing weight, it lasts 2 weeks. That's it. That's my limit. Without me even deciding I'm going to try this for 2 weeks, 2 weeks, and then I fall off the bandwagon. Whenever I've done something for my health, I've gone a year or two or more at a time. And with carnivore, I'm jumping the gun here, but I just feel like I'm doing it for my health. And losing a bit of weight is a byproduct, and it's fantastic, and it contributes to my health. So I made a beeline for this guy, and he told us that he's been doing carnivore. And I really was started drilling him about it. But it sounded so good because the guy was radiating. He was reporting all these incredible results. He was now off his blood pressure medication. He was off this and that. He used to be pre-diabetic. Now he's not. Anyway, so I decided, oh, this sounds like something doable. The biggest thing that drew me to what he was saying was how much he was enjoying it. He was enjoying the way he was eating. He was never hungry. I just thought, wow, like how could I refuse that kind of offer? In any case, he was actually put onto it by a doctor friend of his who was also at the conference. So they called him over and I really felt like this doctor, who was a GP, really, gave me like the medical side of it and hearing it from a doctor's perspective. Not that I trust doctors that much at all. I've heard you speak about that lately. But from a medical perspective, I was quite convinced very quickly that nothing terrible was going to happen to me, and that there have been people on this eating plan for decades, and they're doing really, really well. In fact, some of the healthiest people on the earth. So they gave me a whole long list of YouTubers to start following and listening to. Got home, couldn't wait, started, diving in, and I think that might have been like a Sunday, and by Tuesday I was on already like switching. It wasn't too hard for me. I didn't go through like a carnivore flu or anything like that because I had been more keto-ish with some cheats, but kind of I would say the couple of years before that, I had already lowered my sugar intake, which was my greatest weakness, probably by 90%. I was still addicted, I would say, but definitely had lowered it over time a lot and was kind of more having like monk fruit sweetener and things like that, not sugar. So yeah, so that helped me a lot transitioning, I would say, into carnivore.
Wow. So, and when was this?
Oh, thank you. This was in May. In May. So November, I think 17th, I'll be 200 days carnivore. But who's counting?
Awesome. And so what you've obviously seen some good results because you're still doing it. So what's happened in that time?
Great question. Well, initially, um, my hair started falling out quite a lot. And I was quite concerned about that. I contacted this doctor who wasn't he said it can happen, but it should come right, but it wasn't really coming right. It was a few weeks and I was like, oh, um so I actually found a carnivore coach who was a naturopath here in New Zealand and kind of jumped up on for an hour consultation with her, which was very, very helpful because she told me something I've since learned that carnivore people can make a mistake with towards the beginning. And that is, I wasn't eating enough because it was so filling to eat that way. I just wasn't packing in enough kind of into each meal. And I was really, I went straight into like one meal a day, OMAD, and that wasn't enough for my body. And I was more eating kind of organ meats, so which weren't enough full, I guess, calories or, they were nutritious, but not enough kind of kilojoules or whatever you want, for energy and for my body. My body was lacking. Um, so I never heard anyone telling me that I have to eat more, but I started eating more, and within 2 days, my hair stopped falling out completely and hasn't since. So it was like an instant fix. I just was kind of starving my body a little bit. So that was helpful. Now, after I got through that hurdle, I would say almost immediately, the first thing, I don't like to say this publicly, but I would snore a little bit. But my husband said after the first week on carnivore, he literally had to put his ear to my face because he thought I was dead because I was making no sound at all. And I completely stopped apparently snoring or anything like that. So that was the first real thing that I wasn't expecting. I hadn't heard anyone talk about it, but that happened. And since then, I've heard, friends that I've, kind of led or introduced to carnivore have also told me that same symptom without knowing, beforehand that it happens. Um, Also, I had some ear surgery like 20 years ago, and that, as a result, led to tinnitus, which is like ringing in the ears. Again, wasn't expecting it, but it wasn't too long after that I realized it's not there anymore. Like it's not completely gone, but it wasn't something I was aware of anymore, which before that I was very much aware of it. It was really kind of reducing my quality of life a little bit, this like loud ringing in my ears. Haven't noticed it since. Like now, as I'm talking about it, I can hear it a little bit, but it's not something that affects my life anymore. I also had some issues, like kind of chronic infection in that ear, unfortunately, since then, and that's resolved. The infection has resolved. In fact, this week I did a blood test for like infection markers, and it's completely gone. Whereas I was always show up on that marker. So that's incredible, so exciting. And yeah, I have lost a little bit of weight, not tons. From what I understand, the more you have to lose, the more you lose initially. I've lost about 3 kilos over 5 months or so. But because I'm not doing this for weight loss, I'm just keeping on because I feel so great. I have so much energy, more than I know what to do with. And it's like it doesn't matter. The interesting thing is, even though I've only lost 3 kilos, which is about 6.6 pounds, I think, I've gone down 2 dress sizes. So I was size 16 here in New Zealand. Now I can wear size 12. I do wear size 12. Sometimes I can even fit into a size 10 quite comfortably. So my body composition has changed. And people have noticed, they say, "Oh, you've lost quite a bit of weight. Like you're looking good." And when I tell them I've only lost 3 kilos, they go, "What? Like it looks like so much more than that." Because like the way my body sits has kind of changed quite a lot, so that's interesting.
Yeah, wow. So right now, like today, for example, what did you eat today?
Very good question. All right, I'm going to start with something controversial. um because I didn't have much time today. I've been had a very, very busy morning, and that's why I'm kind of breathless now. But, that naturopath that I met with, she actually encouraged me to have 1 or 2 little, blocks of dark chocolate, very dark chocolate, between 92 and 96%, and to put butter on it, butter, okay? So she said because for me, it's hard to eat plain butter. Like, some people can do that and have it as snacks. So for me, when I wanted a bit of energy, a bit more, just something to keep me going for the next hour or so. So, and I didn't have time to eat. So, I just had a little block of very dark chocolate slathered with butter on it. So I ate it for the butter, really. But there are some good kind of arguments for that little bit. And I only have like one or two small blocks a day. It's like my treat. And my daughter is pregnant and she's got like gestational diabetes. So she has this machine and she had a spare machine to check glucose. So she gave that to me. So I do check it periodically. And I've tested to see if after these one or two little blocks of dark chocolate, my glucose goes up. Nothing, not at all, because it's so little. It's like something like 0.7 grams of sugar in an entire slab. It's minuscule. So I know that's quite controversial because it's not an animal product, but I do have it honestly only for the butter. And it's delicious. It's delicious. At first I thought, oh, that sounds weird, but I have tons of butter on this little thing. So that's what I've had today. But usually we've got an air fryer for my carnivore journey, and my husband's on it now too. So basically easiest thing in the world. I basically live on beef and lamb and some eggs, a little bit of bacon once in a while, but it's not something we keep in the house a lot. So I personally prefer lamb, but I do try to mix them up, even though they have similar nutritional value. And literally just pop either some mincemeat with some salt in the air fryer for 10 minutes, or a lamb, chop or something, and easiest thing, just put some salt. Afterwards, I put butter on it. Another thing I do is from our local butcher, I get fat. Just like I ask them for a kilo of fat, lasts me 2 or 3 weeks sometimes. I put some of it in the freezer because otherwise it goes bad. And they chop it up into little pieces, and I'll just pop that into the air fryer. It's yum. It's yum. And that way I know I have my fat other than butter if for a treat, or it's not even a treat, that's my go-to. And then I take that tallow, that leftover liquid fat, and I pour it into a glass jar and keep it in the fridge. And that's what I cook for the family with, or cook for myself if I'm frying something. Yeah. So, and it's here's another great thing that's happened that I didn't mention. About 5 or 6 weeks after I started carnivore, I had some blood tests done, just totally out of curiosity. And my doctor just, I told her, I scared her by telling her I'm on a carnivore diet and I really need to check some things because it might be killing me. And she was like, "Oh yes, yes, we have to check you. That's not good." But that was the way I could get her to give me, like, prescribe me some free blood tests. Anyway, she got me onto, like, cholesterol and like liver, kidney, like a whole what is it, HbA1c and all these things. And even after 5 or 6 weeks, that's like what, like 35, 40 days or so, I already saw such an improvement since previous blood tests. My cholesterol, the good HDL went up, the kind of bad, worst one went down, triglycerides improved. Like I thought there's something, and my liver function, I never had a problem, but it like the levels improved, kidney function improved. And I didn't have health issues, but everything kind of went more in the right direction, not by much, but definitely several points in the right direction. HbA1c went down. So good. Like that was such an encouragement for me. I thought if after a month or so I've improved so much, like internally, something I don't have any control over, how's this going to look in 6 months, in a year, in 2 years? It's such a good trajectory. And yeah, it was such an affirmation. Not that I thought of stopping it, but I just thought, oh yeah, we're onto something here.
That's awesome. And so you said your husband's doing this too now?
Yes, it took a while. He wanted to, but sugar, carbs, there is such an addiction. And It's been one of the hardest things for me. We have 5 beautiful children, and, for me to still kind of cook normally for them, although, I will say that, I've definitely upped the meat and fat value in their meals without them probably even noticing it. Like, minimize the carbs, and not processed carbs anymore, things like that. So they definitely are eating healthier. But my husband he's always, with all these thousands of diets I've tried, he's always said, I'll see how you go, and if it works, then I'll try it. And it's been like that every time. He's been faithful to his word with that. So he's been more recent over the last few weeks, I would say, carnivore, and already he's lost some weight, feeling better, more energy. Yeah, he's already obviously showing results. You can't not see results on it. Yeah.
And so you talked before about how your friends had noticed there was the body composition change and the weight loss. Has anyone said, "Oh, well, can I try this? Tell me what to do?"
Yes, there have been. It's a little bit of, it's a hard pill to swallow for some people. But once I either send them some stuff about it, I have kind of a ready list to send to interested. There have been a couple of people who have started, and it's so exciting to hear their changes and observations as they begin. And there were actually like a group at I go to a church, and with not, nobody really talks about it because it's so, off-putting to some people. But once I started mentioning it, when people noticed, there were about 4 other women in the church who were on carnivore too, and we just didn't know about each other. So we were like, "Wow!" So now we're a little clique. Yes, I think there are.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, there are some hidden people that we wouldn't know who just aren't talking about it for fear of judgment and, um, you know, yeah, like just the ignorance about it it's a stigma kind of, "You're crazy, you're doing that."
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and these days, everyone wants to put you in a box if they can classify you as you're this or you're that, or you're the crazy
Yeah,
meat-eating person or whatever, and it's just like, I'm just gonna keep my mouth closed and then no one can. Yeah.
yeah. Until you become so convinced about it and such a convert that you can't keep your mouth closed anymore.
Right, right. Yeah, which is, where we all eventually get to, it's like, I've got to tell people about this. It's,
That's
yeah.
right. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is the way you're going to eat going forward. There's no going back.
I really don't think I could ever go back. I don't. Why would I? What would I go back to? I remember there was one cheat day I had where I went out took my daughter out to a Japanese restaurant, and I had some sushi. It was like had salmon in it. I kind of justified it. It's an animal product. I came back and I took my glucose. It was through the roof after eating 8 little pieces of sushi. And I just thought, this is how people live, like constantly, throughout the day, their blood sugar spikes, spike. And that's what causes, of course, the insulin resistance. And I just, if they would know, surely they would find out what doesn't spike my sugar levels. And it's just, I think it's helpful to have that tangible number, even, just to see what just good carbs, even rice and potatoes, and what that does to our bodies. So what would I go back to? Those spikes, those, the feeling, the crashes. That's another thing I definitely noticed. I wasn't crashing anymore after every meal. I didn't need a nap. I didn't like and after that sushi, I did. That's why I took my blood sugar. I was just like so tired. I couldn't function for like 2 or 3 hours. I was just like, oh, I need to lie down. You don't have that on carnivore. I had forgotten until that point, I hadn't realized, but I'd forgotten that that's the way I lived.
Yeah. And, you say that about the rice in the sushi had spiked your blood sugar like that.
Mm.
And it's crazy then when you think if you go to most countries' diabetes website, and you look at their recommendations, they're saying 1/3 of every plate you eat should contain potatoes or rice or
Right.
pasta or something like that.
Well, that's because, like the food pyramid, I mean, if you study that, it's at the bottom, the big, base of that food pyramid is all carbohydrates, gluten, it's and the top, the very top little triangle. I'm trying to do this right, is the meat, right? The proteins and the meat. And the whole food pyramid should be completely flipped on its head. And that's the way we should be eating, and well, focusing on that meat and animal product base, that whole the whole triangle should be meat and animal products. So, and if you think about it, I mean, we're being lied to in so many ways out there about our health and about what's good for us. It just makes complete sense if they want to, if the system wants to keep us sick, they're not going to tell us to eat what's good for us. They're going to tell us to eat what's not good for us, to keep us sick, to keep us dependent on medication, to keep us dependent on the medical system, to feed them the money that they want, and that's how it goes round and round. So, um, yeah, I hope I'm not sounding crazy, but it's why else would they put that down there? What I mean, the more people eat from that base of the gluten and the carbs, the sicker they are, the higher the diabetes goes, so something's not right there, I think people need to ask a lot more questions than they do.
Hmm, definitely. So, if one of your friends came to you and said, "Look, skeptical of this. I've been told my whole life that meat is the devil incarnate, but I'm willing to give this a go for 90 days and see what happens." What advice would you give them for getting started?
I would say just start. It's the easiest thing. Buy some meat. And a lot of people have asked me, like, doesn't your grocery bill go up because meat is expensive? And first of all, I only buy meat that's on clearance, reduced, special. I never buy full price meat, And that's how the videos that I watched, that's what they said. Because I was also skeptical. Is this gonna like, can we afford to eat this way? Um, but I would say just buy some meat, cook it up, put some fat on it, and eat it. And do that 2, 3 times a day. And that's it. You'll be so full, you won't even want to eat anything else. You won't be able to. There isn't That's what's the beauty about this way of eating. You don't have to I've been on diets where I had to shop online for special ingredients and go to the special store and, fill up my pantry with specified foods and specialist foods. You don't have to for this. You just literally buy eggs, meat, and start eating. And that's what I did. I mean, there was no, you kind of out of habit because you've done all these diets, you think, oh, like what do I need? What do I need to put into place first? You don't need to put anything into place first. Just start today. Go for a few days, you'll already feel better, and you'll see how easy it is to eat that way and how delicious it is to eat that way, and how filling and satiating it is. And you'll just go from there. Honestly, it's not complicated. That's one of the most beautiful things about it.
So, Tehila, do you have any way of getting in contact? Do you have any social media or any other way of reaching out to you?
Yes, I do. People can just contact me by email. I'd love to hear from people. So, you can put my email in the description box, or it's the Gonen family, TheGonen family @gmail.com.
Awesome. I'll put that in the show notes. Thank you so much for coming on today and sharing your experience. I really appreciate your time.
I really appreciate it because I kind of thought I have no story. And it was when you were inviting people onto your show and you said, even if you think you have no story to share, there are people like you, who might be benefit from what you have to say. So that really encouraged me. And as I was talking, I realized I do have a story. Things have happened. I have felt benefits. I have seen results. I am enjoying it. I am passionate about it. And it's a blessing to be able to share that with other people.